First of all, thanks for the great show. I was just wondering if you guys will talk about who's Castle's father really is. I mean, will they be back at that subject again, or is it just mystery?
I'm voting for Chris Walken.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Playing himself.
For the very warm, sensitive father-son talk that comes.
We're on the Deer Hunter Day.
Hopefully the show will run long enough that we'll have a chance to explore it. But we're also cognizant that there's certain things that you don't want to do too quickly, and that there's certain mysteries that I think Castle articulated it himself, that living with the mystery for him is more interesting. If we continue to do well and have a few more seasons under our belt, I think that that's something that we'll probably touch on. But it's not something that we have plans for right away.
That was a lovely scene between Nathan and Molly, too, when you're about to play catch to tragic results. But just to have that moment where you get to be sort of a stand-in a way. Molly, when you're doing scenes with Nathan, what is it you look for in terms of the relationship between the two of you?
The first time I met Nathan in the chemistry read, at first I thought the script was great. I thought it was good, but it was, it was TV. And
Wow.
I think Molly goes to college soon, doesn't she?
yeah, and then my spinoff comes, right?
She's wise for her age. I think she can skip a grade.
Yeah.
Anyway, I meet Nathan, and just instant chemistry, and I was like, I don't care what I do. If I'm handing him water or like being his little gopher on set, I want to work with this guy. And I don't want to cry. Nothing. He really is like a second dad to me out here, especially because my dad's back in Texas, and I don't really have to look for anything. It's just there. It's just there.
Very nice. Anybody over here? The show itself, and we've touched on this a couple of times. A mention was made of Macmillan and Wife, and I think even Rockford Files by way of introduction. There is and I say this as a compliment, a retro kind of feel to the show because it does deal with relationships and humor and such. Was there a concern that here we're gonna mount this show, we got a great script, a great cast, but maybe that train has left the station. Maybe there's not an audience for that anymore. Rob?
Oh, yeah, we weren't even allowed to use that word when describing the show. Early on, we were even given a letter that said never mention the show Murder, She Wrote. And we didn't, except we'd go to press interviews and they'd mention it. But it was, what was the best television we can remember watching? And as Andrew said, it was Jim Rockford and Columbo.
And the reality is everything's cyclical. Everything comes back in. You'll have your cinema of cool, and then cinema of character will come back in. Mm-hmm. So I think that a show like this speaks to our times in that there are a lot of shows on TV where you can't connect with the characters, and you come home and there's a lot of darkness. And what we wanted to do was a show where people could come home and watch it and have fun with the characters.
Yeah, I remember the first phone call we had with the network about the script, and there was a lot of discussion about the case and whatnot, and all good notes. But I remember when we hung up, I called Andrew right back. I said, I'm going to tell you something right now. If this show is not fun, I'm not interested. There's a lot of good cop shows on TV. There's a lot of very successful cop shows on TV, and people watch them. But we need to go have a good time, and I think it's the right time for it. Right. But we really couldn't talk too much about that in the early stages of the show because it was, what kind of cop show is it? But the other thing that's exciting that you guys probably don't know much about is the story time. We only have 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Less than 42 minutes of story time. The rest is commercials and whatnot. And we talk fast, so we shoot 55 pages. Now, historically, it's a minute a page. Well, obviously, it's too many minutes, so it's fast and compressed. The thing that excited me about shooting Andrew's script was the fast pace, the getting the show up on its feet, the clipped pace, and talking fast. And so there would be a new version of Columbo or Rockford Files that the audience hadn't seen yet, and Moonlighting was long ago.
I love that. There's something, I don't know if it's done on other shows because it didn't hit me on other shows, where the dialogue for the next scene will start as we're still in the
Pre-lap.
previous scene. Yeah. That
I mean,
works.
tell you jam 55 pages into 42 minutes, they never stop talking. And but I also had to find a new kind of, the third part of the equation, the editing, had to have new artists. And we have Marta and Warren here who cut our shows. This is not gluing the shots together. These are folks who have to know how to who have to understand brevity, cinematic brevity, and what are the rhythms of the show. And the whole notion of Andrew's script and then the cast that we had and that kind of sort of narrative velocity, it's just thrilling.